In this video, I will be explaining properties of addition and properties of multiplication. These rules you use all the time. You just probably either haven't ever learned or don't remember the names of what they really technically are. So we're going to start with the identity property, and this is going to deal with 0 when we're talking addition. Anything plus 0 is going to equal itself. Anything minus 0 is going to equal itself. And that's really all there is to the identity property of addition. The associative property is grouping, how we group the numbers that we're adding. Add-ins are just the numbers that we're adding. Therefore, if we do the 5 plus 7 first and we get 12, then we add on the 2, we get 14. If we do the 7 plus the 2 first, then we get 9. Then we add the 5, we still get 14. So however we group the add-ins, we still get the same answer. Notice this has a 5, then a 7, then a 2. This has a 5, then a 7, then a 2. I'm not changing the add-ins, we're just grouping them differently. Okay, next is the commutative property. And this deals with order. I know that 17 plus 4 is 21. And 4 plus 17 is also 21. Think of another example. I know that 3 plus 5 is 8, and I know 5 plus 3 is also 8. This just deals with the order. I can do them forwards or I could do them backwards. That is the commutative property. This is a reminder, you should be taking notes on your notes page at the same time that I am writing these notes on this paper so that you'll better understand it. Let's move on to the properties of multiplication. So when I'm multiplying, notice this is multiplication, multiplication, multiplication. We're done with addition, 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 addition. The 0 property is like the identity. It deals with 0 though because, no, it's not like the identity. It is different. There is an identity property. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. The 0 property just simply says anything times 0 is 0. Here's the identity property, and that is going to deal with 1 for multiplication because anything times 1 is itself. Anything times 1 is itself. You've known that for a while. Anything times 1 is itself. Let's move on to the associative property. And it's a lot like the associative property of addition, but this time we're just multiplying. That's the only difference. And if you have 5 times 6, if you have a 5, a 6, and a 2, a 5, a 6, and a 2, they're not in a different order. It's just that they are grouped differently. 5 times 6 is 30. And what's 30 times 2? 60. But here I did the 6 times 2 first because it's in parentheses, and we know parentheses is first in order of operations. 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 times 5 is also 60, proving that the associative property says that no matter how you group the factors, usually using parentheses, they still come out equal. The commutative property of multiplication is very similar to the commutative property of addition. Commutative property, it still deals with order. What is 3 times 4? What is 4 times 3? They are the same thing. What is 10 times 9? 90. What is 9 times 10? 90. You knew it already. You just probably are not remembering the names of these properties, and you've probably learned them before. Distributive is perhaps the very most important, but we won't use it a lot today. We'll use it a lot more when it comes to algebra. You'll end up using this a ton next year and the year after. What it says is if you have a number on the outside of the parentheses, you have to multiply it by everything inside the parentheses. And I know what you're thinking is, wouldn't I do what's in parentheses first? But when we have a distributive property, we usually have a variable here. So you can't actually do like x plus 4 until you know what the x is. And so you have to do this multiplication step first. I'll explain that more as we go. So this is like I'm distributing a 2 through the 5, and that means 2 times 5, and I'm distributing a 2 through the 4. And there's your 2 times 4. And so 2 times 5 is 10. And 2 times 4 is 8. That's 10 plus 8, and the answer would be 18. Very, very common with algebra. You distribute something on the outside through the inside. Let me show you what it's like, just a glimpse into algebra. The most common way to use this is if I had like a 3 on the outside of parentheses and it was an x plus, let's say, 5 inside the parentheses. So I can't do anything to solve this because I don't know what x is. Nobody gave it to me and I don't know. So I would have to distribute the 3 times the x. That's 3 x's. And the 3 times the 5, that's 15. And now I could solve if I knew x. And I'm going to leave you with that because we will learn a lot more about this when we get to algebra. The distributive property is most commonly used in algebra. It's kind of funky when it's not algebra, but you'll understand when we get there. Good luck.